Earlier, I spoke to Democrat Congressman Adam Smith. News. You've said that President Biden should end his candidacy for a second term because the American people made it clear they no longer see him as a credible candidate for 4 more years. Can you tell us what you are hearing exactly from your constituents?
Well, first of all, I do agree with one aspect of Senator Fetterman's message. I think Donald Trump is a complete disaster. I think our country has a clear anti-MAGA majority, and we have a great opportunity and a great message to run on in winning this election. You know, we have a strong economic record. The president has had foreign policy successes, uniting the world against Ukraine. It's a terrific message. The problem is, and what was proven in the debate and in the days since then, at this point, Joe Biden is incapable of delivering that message. I mean, any Democrat watching that debate was fairly well begging the president to hit back. I mean, Trump was lying. He was leaving these huge, big, open arguments. The president was completely incapable of doing something that any sort of relatively novice debater should have been able to do, and it hasn't gotten better since then.
Okay.
We need a stronger messenger, and then secondarily, there are concerns about his health, concerns that they have brushed off and not addressed, that are distracting us from being able to deliver exactly the message that Senator Fetterman outlined. So that's my concern, and that's my problem.
Okay.
I think this election is enormously important, and I think we need to be in the strongest possible position to make that case. President Biden at the moment is not. And I have enormous respect for the job he's done as president. I do. But we got to win this campaign.
So, Congressman, let me ask you, the president and his team say they believe that these calls for him to drop out of the race are coming from what they call a group of elites in Washington who are out of touch with voters. I know you've been critical of that criticism from the Biden team. But until now, the polls after the debate, they have not changed significantly. I mean, Joe Biden is still trailing Donald Trump in those polls. Is there any truth to the fact that young voters, black voters, union voters do not agree with politicians, perhaps, here in Washington?
Yeah, that is so ludicrous, okay? The concerns that I've been getting have been coming from my constituents, young voters, black voters, old voters, Democrats. You know, I didn't just come up with this on my own. Ever since the debate, I have been deluged with requests and of hardcore Democrats who don't want to see Trump reelected, saying, my goodness, you have to do something. Our candidate's not strong enough to hold him off. You know, the notion that this is elite. I mean, look, I mean, it's a card I guess the president has to play to stay in. But what I'm hoping is that the president recognizes a key aspect of his legacy is he was the candidate who defeated Trump in 2020. If he can't do that in 2024 because of the limitations that he now has that have become obvious, he lets him back in. I mean, he was the right candidate in 2020, but what we've seen from the debate and elsewhere, he's not the right candidate now. And I just wish he and his advisors would take a hard, serious look at this. So the idea that it's just a few people, I mean, it's people all across the board who are concerned.
Can I ask you, Congressman, how many of your colleagues are concerned? We've only seen a handful speaking out publicly, as you have. Do you get a sense of how many House Democrats feel the way you do?
Well, let me describe it this way. If the president were to announce tomorrow that he was stepping aside, about 90% of my colleagues would breathe an enormous sigh of relief. Now, and I respect the fact that some of them have made the calculation that, look, he's going to be our nominee. What can we really do about it? So we may as well make the best of it. And I hear that argument. And I thought about that. Look, I mean, it's 11 days after the debate before I said anything, precisely because of that argument. But what I've seen since the debate, and certainly reliving the debate, is that that's the least risky option, to give us a different option. It's not risk-free. Nothing is risk-free. But it would give us the better chance and the better option. So, yeah, the overwhelming majority of people are deeply concerned about the ability of the president to prosecute this campaign.
Congressman, is there anything that the president and his team could do at this point to assuage some of those concerns that you and, as you said, many of your colleagues share?
Absolutely. One of the things he could do, and by the way, let me just say, Donald Trump shouldn't be running either. Okay, he's a multiple-time convicted felon. He has healthcare issues of his own. He wasn't exactly coherent in the debate last week either. So I like to say he gave the second worst debate performance in the history of presidential debates. Unfortunately, President Biden gave the worst right next to him. So it's not just to him, but what President Biden could do is he could say, look, it's legit. I'm 81 years old. You should know what my health is. Let's bring in an independent physician, do a healthcare assessment, do, a neurological cognitive test, be transparent, be open, and then hold a press conference and say, look, President, you've told us, watch me. Okay, you can be up to this.
Yeah.
Hold a press conference, take questions for an hour about it, show that no, the debate was just an anomaly. My health is good and I can do this. I think that's something they should have done immediately after the debate. If they did it now, I think that would help.
So, Congressman, we just have about a minute left, but, President Biden says he is staying in this race. If he does so, do you think he is going to lose in November?
Well, I'm not going to say that. And look, I said this in my statement. I'm going to support him. If he stays in and he's the nominee, I'm going to support him. He's a vastly better choice than Donald Trump or anybody else in this race. There's no question about that, and I will support him. And I don't know for sure. I think the risk is enormously high. I think he was far more damaged by that debate than they're admitting. I think it's a huge risk. But no, I'm not going to say he couldn't win. You got to go to work. I'm just saying that I think a better candidate who could deliver the message more clearly gives us a much better chance to stop Donald Trump from getting back into the White House.
Congressman, always great to have you on BBC News. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for the chance.
And that is our program at this